Hello, listeners. Welcome to yet another episode of Courage Talks. And I have a very special guest today. Special because she's among the very few female participants we have had on this show. But more importantly, she's an ultramarathoner. More importantly, she spent more than 30 years in corporate life, including large corporate. And those are aspects which I can strongly relate to. But that's where the relatability and similarity stop. She's done multiple 100K runs. She's done a 100 miler. She's done comrades back to back. And the best part is that she's got a podium finish in many of these runs, which requires a lot of strength and strong will. Without extending the introduction further, I would like to welcome Taru.
Hi, Hetal. It's nice to be here talking to you.
So the topic is Courage Talks. What does courage mean to you, Taru?
Well, courage to me is something as simple as overcoming a fear and not taking the easy road down, even if it might be acceptable to some extent, but going beyond one's own fears and doing what is right or what one really wants to do, and being a little brave in that aspect.
Wonderful. Who's your role model for courage?
Oh, well, there are so many in-house and out of the house as well. My mom is my biggest role model for courage, followed by my husband and my Fauji husband. And then externally, one hears stories about people like Arunima Sinha, who's gone and conquered the Everest. So these are the stories that also inspire me. But from day-to-day life, watching how my mom handled her own life and how my husband encourages me when I try to take the easier route. That's what inspires me a lot.
Beautiful, beautiful. Every Fauji has a story, and in fact, they have stories, right? One story which your husband narrated to you, or what he went through, which stays with you.
Well, his stories are very long, very, very long. But I'll cut one very short. This happened in the east of India when they were chasing some a group of internal terrorists, and there was a fog while they were chasing, and he came face to face with another terrorist in a nala.
Oh man.
And at that time, they were both looking at each other's guns, the barrels of each other's guns. And this is when the fog just left. And somehow that guy chickened out and ran away. So this I'm just cutting the whole story short. But that
I know. True.
Extreme courage when he went. They were chasing these terrorists, and he went into the fog looking for them.
Wow, that must have been quite something. And I know when you brought it and made it very brief and concise, but I hope that someday he writes it in detail and would make amazing reading as well. We know you today, Taru. We know you as a corporate exec who spent 3 decades. We know you as an ultramarathoner, but we don't know your past, right? So take us down memory lane. Where did you grow up? What was childhood like? What do you remember about your childhood?
I had a very modest upbringing. My father was a government officer. My mom was a school teacher, high school teacher. And we were 3 brothers and sisters. I have a brother and another sister. And we were brought up with great amount of discipline and instilled, my mom and my parents, both of them instilled the right values in us, honesty, discipline, the kind of things that sometimes seem outdated now, but are the things that we need to chase. So even the means, we were from the middle class. So the means were very moderate, and we learned how to value education, value money. So that's how I was brought up. And I saw a lot of courage, as I mentioned earlier, in my mom. So to relate an incident, she was a high school teacher.
Sure.
She was a high school teacher. And once when she was invigilating an exam, she got the papers and she realized that this person had copied from the person in front. And she cut out the entire paper, slashed out across the entire paper and put a 0 and wrote cheated over there. And this was some big goon's son who was a goon himself. And then the principal called my mom and he said, "Are you sure this guy has cheated? Can you prove it?" She being a mathematics teacher, it was easy for her to prove and very vigilant as well. So she could prove, and of course that guy could not have passed that way. This became a court case actually. And she went to the court and she said, "I'll speak for myself." And she spoke to the judge. And meanwhile, these people had threatened that we were just 2 sisters then. They said, "We'll, aapki bachchiyon ko hum avga kar lenge." So
Oh,
So it was a scary situation, but she showed extreme courage, and she proved to the judge that this guy was wrong and he had cheated, and ultimately they apologized. And these are the small things. They're small, but they're big in a way. To me, she's a
of
hero.
course.
She's a big hero for me. So these are the things that's how I was brought up, with great value for education. And so main thing was focus was education, and of course some stage activities. So I went on to become an engineer and was also an NTS scholar, National Talent Scholar, which at that time was a big thing. Now it is more commonplace, but then it was something major.
Wow, what amazing story. I hope your mother can remember all the details. This could make a very interesting film story, film script.
True. She has many such stories though.
Very interesting, very interesting. So it's quite evident from your childhood that you had a very happening childhood, right? A lot of incidents that you are able to narrate. What is the first incident of courage of yourself that you remember?
That's a tough one, because I feel that I'm such a commonplace person that I don't think I have done anything courageous really. But I think it does.
And this is a lady who's wearing the border T-shirt.
I think I don't know whether it's the right kind of courage or the wrong kind of courage. But coming from a very disciplined family where mother was very strict and dad was okay, not too strict, but still strict. I think back in those days, the most courageous thing for me was to go and tell my mom that I met a person. This was when I was in second year college, and we are Punjabis, and I've met an Andhraite, and he's interested in marrying me. And it's a kind of a thing I would also like to marry him. So this was it. You can't believe it. Nothing has taken more courage than this for me at that time. And I'm talking about 1982. So that is a really 40, more than 40 years ago. At that
Yeah.
time, doing something like that was quite a courageous thing to do. That too, when I was in second year of engineering and talking about getting married to a Fauji, unright
Wow.
Fauji.
No, no, I can understand the circumstances, and we both are almost in that generation where marrying outside your caste, choosing your own spouse. I mean, it was a big deal, right? I mean, love marriages were unheard of in those days. They were quite rare. I'm sure they were happening, but not very frequently. And the way you narrated, I'm sure it must have caused a lot of anguish and a lot of drama. You had a fabulous career in corporate life, and anyone who spent 3 decades in corporate life would have gone through a lot of drama, would have gone through a lot of tough decisions, incidents where your integrity would be questioned, where you would have to take those tough decisions, whether it's with hiring someone, maybe unfortunately firing someone, leaving the organization when you would rather have stayed, staying in the organization when you would have left. Any particular incident from your work life which comes to your mind, which stayed with you for a very long time?
30 years is a long time, and going through two different schools and different corporates, it's a lot of things happened. But there is one thing that I remember very clearly, and that required a bit of courage as well. My boss, we used to have a ranking. We had, in fact, the organization still has a ranking system for appraising the employees. So I had three senior managers reporting to me, and I had done their ranking based on my judgment. So my superior had the authority to change the ranking that I have done. And that would also go into the monetary appraisal that comes to everybody. It's a normal thing that happens in most corporates.
Yeah.
So my superior, my senior, the person I reported to, he made certain changes to the ranking. And it comes back to me. So I could see that he's made these changes, and I did not agree with those changes at all. And it was not just subjective. Some of the parameters are very, very objective. And I had objective proof to prove that the person he had ranked over the others was not really the
Yeah.
person who should be there. So I went back and spoke to my boss, this superior, and I told him this was not right. He argued. I explained to him, but he said, I'm sticking by what I have. If you want, you can go to the CEO, the next skip level senior person.
Yeah.
So I thought about it, because this person is appraising me as well. But then I had to do right by the people who were reporting to me. And I felt that it trickles down to the entire team, because these three were managing another team of 80 people. So I
Yeah.
decided to go to the CEO, and I went to the CEO and I explained to him The only thing he asked me is, did you explain this to your immediate superior? I said, yes, I did explain it to him. So he said, what did he say? Just told him he didn't agree and he said, I could talk to you. So I hope this is going to bring about some change. So I think this doing right by your team is very, very important. And at times it requires courage as well. And this could have hit very badly on me. But thankfully, my superior, although he made those changes to the ranking, he did not take this the wrong way. I got what I deserved. And I thank the organization for having this kind of a structure and this giving the employees this kind of freedom and the courage to be able to do what is right.
No, it's very interesting, and then this obviously brings back a lot of my own corporate life experience, and obviously I've gone through the appraisal season multiple times, and it always used to be tough to take those tough calls. If someone has not done well, it's not done well. You need to face the person the next day when he or she gets the ranking. Then it's going to look into your face, and you need to have those words ready for what you're going to say to this individual. Right? There's no easy way out. There's no easy way to do this. There's only one way to do it. Courage is, of course, a lot more mental and not just physical. As a runner, I can relate to the fact that the very fact that I sign up for a run, which people can't even imagine running, the very signing up itself is like, half the job is done, right? I mean, you've taken that bold step. You've done multiple runs. Tell us some of the difficult decision-making processes in terms of, which run took you a lot of effort to sign up for. You were taking a lot of risk. You were questioned a lot. You were maybe criticized a lot. A lot of people said, nahi jao, nahi jao. Anything which comes to your mind?
So every time I take a step further in terms of distance, there are questions asked. I mean, do you really want to run that distance? You've already done so much. Why don't you back off now? So that happens for every consecutive subsequent run that I'm going to sign up for. There's one thing, I have been very certain of the events that I want to run for. So I do a thorough study about the event and then I make up my mind about it. I read about the terrain, I read about the weather, and then only I sign up for an event with an assurance in my mind that I will be able to train for it. So my point is I train my best and then whatever happens after that, there are so many unknowns that you cannot really cater to. So whatever happens as an unknown is really an unknown, but I will go with full training. That is what is my perspective. So signing up for this 100 miler was a big step for me. The 100 miler that I did in December, Border Ultra from Jaisalmer to Lukhiwal. This was a big step for me because the maximum I had run before that was 100 kilometers. Actually 104 because I had got lost in that run. But that was the maximum I had run. So this jump was really big. And one unknown before me was, how am I going to train for this? How much more training is required beyond what is required for 100 kilometers? I had done 200 kilometers already, so I was confident about that much distance. This was one unknown factor. The other thing is that this run requires one to run in the dark. It obviously takes about 24 hours or more to run this run. So one goes through the desert in the night. Now, although most ladies who are doing the run, there are very few ladies who run, but most who are doing this run, they find a partner to run with or a running buddy. They latch on to somebody and run. But I'm someone who can't run with somebody. I have to run alone. So for me, I had to think this other thing that I had to be mentally strong enough to run the entire night alone. I had already done 100 kilometers in that area and I'd run till about 2 a.m. or something. But here I had to run through the night and into the next day until noon. So that was one factor that really bothered me initially. But with training, I could overcome that. So I was the only woman probably who ran solo. Because in an ultra marathon, you can't see people for kilometers ahead and kilometers behind at times. And I was running alone in those circumstances.
Wow, that's really impressive. And I can understand what running alone means because you need to constantly keep yourself engaged and entertained and motivated. There's nobody else who's pushing you or egging you towards that. Moving from mental challenges, we can move to physical challenges, right? What's been the toughest physical challenge you've had? Maybe it's an injury, it's something which you didn't anticipate and it happened. Narrate to us something like that.
The toughest thing for me has been that I started running in my 50th year. And prior to that, I wasn't really a sportsman. In school and college, as I mentioned earlier, I was just nose to the grind. I was just studying. And after that, I
Hmm.
started playing a bit of badminton after I got married, some swimming and a little bit of gymming, but I was not an outdoor person. So my muscles weren't really developed in the way they should be. I wasn't strong enough for that, but still I was running. It was, call it determination or willpower or training or whatever. I learned the hard way that I need to do a lot of strength training and devote some time to yoga also to be able to run better. So I had many injuries. It's a medical encyclopedia that I picked up. Knowing about Achilles tendonitis and compartment syndrome and a whole lot of stuff that happened to me. But the longest I
Yeah.
stayed, it was for a 3-month period. I had a partial LCL and ACL tear. So I had to stop running altogether for 3 months. And I could not even walk. I could only do upper body workout. And gradually I built the strength, did the rehab, and then got back to running. So by the end of those 3 months, I was literally in tears. When will I be able to run again? Because running had totally become my passion. So those
Yeah.
were the
Yeah.
injuries physically, that the issues that I had. Otherwise, also there are 2 runs in which I ended up as a DNF. DNFs did not finish. This one of them was the Pune Ultra Marathon. I was running 75K. I gave up after 50K because I fell. And the second
Oh.
was Rohtang Epic. I went to Rohtang Epic is from Manali to Rohtang, and then from there down to Sisu. So Manali to Rohtang is entire climb the hill. So I ran from Manali to Rohtang, which is 50 kilometers. And then my body started bending to one side because I have a functional scoliosis issue. And I still
Oh.
continued to run for another 12 kilometers, but from hip down, I kept bending to one side more and more. And I realized
Oh
it
man.
might end in an injury. So although I had 4.5 hours to do the remaining 18 kilometers, I had to stop the run because of this
Oh.
medical issue. So yes, there have been
Did you
physical challenges as well.
did you ever go back to Rohtang to finish it?
This happened last year.
Oh, okay.
Manali to
So you not had chance to
Yeah,
do
after
that as
that
well.
I did the 161 kilometers, the 100
Yeah.
miler. After that, by the same
Got it.
organizer.
Got
And
it.
I hope to be able to go to Rohtang, although not for this 80-kilometer run, but they have the high fives. That is, you run 5 full marathons on 5 consecutive days at that high altitude. So that is something I want to go back to instead of doing the Rohtang Epic again, because I've done the difficult part of it already. I mean, I've done the
Yeah.
Manali to Rohtang. So
Yeah.
for the going down part, I excuse myself for not being able to do that.
No, that makes sense. You deserve to take yourself easy at times, right?
Yeah.
So running, of course, it's not in our control. I think you mentioned a while back, the ecosystem, right? Rain, terrain, baggage loss, whatever, right? Any interesting dramas or anything which was totally out of your control happened, which kind of made things difficult for you?
See, in running, as you said, these dramas keep happening and they are a part of running. If they don't happen, then something.
That's where the humor comes.
Yeah. So we went for the Kalimpong Ultra 65 kilometers in this March. And generally the weather is very nice over there. It's about 10 to 15 degrees and it's a hilly run. It's a very hilly run. So the training was on hills and we were prepared for hills. That kind of challenge. I love running hills. So we had picked this ultra. But when we reached there, instead of it being normal 10 to 15 degrees, sunny, cloudy weather, it turned out to be heavy rains. And the temperature also dipped drastically. So all through the run, all through the 65 kilometers, it was pouring and it was very, very cold. Fortunately, we had taken layers because I had seen the weather prediction and we suspected the weather prediction could be right, which it isn't always. And
Yeah.
this was organized by Roshni Rai. She's a very well-known person in the running circle. She, in fact, during the run, thought that she should send a bus and bring all the participants back because it was pouring very heavily and it was very cold. But then she was told by the other people who were on the route that runners are running and they are not going to come back. So she didn't send a bus. We had a good run. I quite enjoyed it, I must say. And I think it's these challenges that do make the runs interesting, and we come back and talk more about it and reminisce more. If it had been a normal run that we had gone for, it wouldn't have been so interesting or memorable.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Running involves showing sense of vulnerability. Would you like to describe incident where you were quite vulnerable, you could not hold back your emotions?
I'm generally not the kind who would cry with happiness or something. I mostly cry when I'm frustrated and angry and unable to do anything about it. So I could not control my emotions. I am quite in control of my emotions, in fact. I had thought that when I finish my 100 miler, I will probably be sobbing and all. But nothing like that happened. I happened to be the podium finisher also. So I just raised my hands and ran into the ribbon, and I was very happy about it. And then I was waiting for the other people to come back. The only time I got emotional, I think, was when I finished the Comrades Up Run. And I finished it very strong, and I got a wee bit emotional about it because I had finished the back to back, and both of them I had done in the bronze category. So I felt bronze categories, they have those hourly slots, and anybody who does it in less than 11 hours is in the bronze, between 10 and 11 hours. So that is the time I felt a little emotional, a little teary eyed, but then it went away quite fast.
Yeah, I know what you mean when you anticipated that you would cry at the end and you didn't, because during my Ironman training, there was one particular day when I had decided to do a half iron in practice, and I was in middle of my run. I had done 11 out of 21K, and I just stopped in the middle of the road and I was just shedding tears. And I probably stopped for like 2 minutes. And that day I realized that, I mean, that day it occurred to me that, when I actually finish the full Ironman, I'm probably going to cry. But just like you, I mean, my full Ironman turned out to be a completely different drama, but I ended with almost an hour less than what my estimated time was. And I was like literally jumping with joy. So there was no sign of tears. And my daughter was there next to me at the finish line. So, yeah, you anticipate that would be very emotional at that day, but, it might turn out to be completely otherwise as well. Because I think it's a sign of maturity, right? It's a sign of being in control. And then that's why this question comes up, right? Sometimes you might have been in control all through, and you might have put so much pressure on yourself to put that poker face and put that serious face that someone says something and you suddenly break apart, let your emotions run loose as well. Well, you obviously been a part of a thriving ecosystem, whether it's at work or it's in your running journey. Anyone whose courage has been, or anyone's incident of courage has remained with you, whether it's your colleague, whether it's your friend, whether it's your family, anything which comes to your mind?
It's not really an act of courage, but something that I learned very early. I got married and I had my daughter, and my daughter was about 6 months old, and I was staying with my parents at that time because my husband was in field and I was teaching in an engineering college. So I stayed with my parents for a few months. And one day, a cat, it wasn't a cat, there was some wild animal that entered the room and went close to the cupboard and disappeared. And I froze near the entrance of the room. And my mom came in and she said, "What happened?" I told her what had happened. She said, "Go shoo out that animal." I said, "No, that I'm really scared of that animal." So what she said then has stayed with me for life. So she said, "अगर तुम उससे इतना डरोगी तो अपने बच्चों की सुरक्षा कैसे करोगी?" So, because my daughter 6 month old was around at that point in
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
It's a very small lesson, but
Yeah.
it was at that point I needed to hear that to overcome that fear. Maybe
Yeah.
after a few minutes I would have gone in on my own, but then I
Hmm.
needed to hear that, and that has stayed with me for life. It's such a small thing.
Of course.
It's a
Yeah.
small
Yeah.
thing, but it stayed with me, and I maintain that I need to be brave for my own daughter to see me that way.
Yeah.
And my daughter,
Yeah.
I believe she's grown up to be a good, mature, brave, independent girl.
I'm sure. I'm sure. It's so nice to hear that something so important stayed with you for so long. And I'm sure a lot of your runs you would have, okay, I need to go back and face my daughter as well after this, right? So I better do well. Yeah, because I remember this was just my second half marathon, and so I was running this half marathon in Corbett, and the very same day my daughter was gonna do a 4 kilometer cross country run from her school.
Wow.
And the previous night, we wished each other all the best. And I told her, "Look, you need to come among the top three." She says, "Yeah, Daddy, I will try." I said, "Daddy, you also have to be among the top three." I said, "Please, I'll get a medal, but don't assume I'll be among the top three, because that's not the same thing as coming top three in a school cross country run." So yeah, I know it's always nice to see And the best part is we don't know when we are inspiring others.
It's true.
The others will not come and tell you. Maybe it might be not just years, but decades later, people come and tell you, hey, you did that. You inspired me. I'm like, wow, okay. Why didn't you tell me earlier? No, now I know.
I totally agree. And although I've told this, but I'll take this opportunity to tell again. When I had just started running in my 50th year, the first article I read about women in running was about a lady called Parveen Batliwala. And she was a swimmer and an athlete earlier, but she started running when she was 50. So at that
Okay.
time, reading about it, she must be about 67 or something now. But reading about her, it told me that yes, it's happening in the world. In India, sorry,
Wow.
not in the world, it's happening in India itself. So people inspire each other and they might not say it then. A lot of people do come and say as well. But many don't say
Yeah.
it too, but it happens as you said.
Very true. Very true. Any book or any movie which comes to your mind when you talk about courage?
See, the ones that I read long time ago, I don't remember. But lately, I saw recently, not recently, maybe during COVID times, I saw Mrs. Chatterjee versus Norway.
Oh, yeah.
That movie, it really hits you hard.
Yeah.
I firstly say that my GK is not very good. I didn't know much about Norway. So it shocked me that this happens in some country.
Yeah.
And to know that this was a true story and how the lady handled it all, that was really a hard hitting story. And
very good.
book, of course, is Not Without My Daughter. I saw the movie first, Not Without My Daughter. I think it was Karishma Kapoor in the movie. And,
That's right.
Yeah, and then I read the book after that. So that book is again, as far as courage goes, it's amazing. And again, it's all about what women would do for their children.
That's true. The last one. What is the question you have for me?
The question for you, actually, it's not a question. I would say that what you're doing is excellent and I'm sure it's inspiring people. And you have inspired me and given me the courage to come on this platform to talk about courage because, we know what happened. I was reluctant to come. And then when you wrote back to me, I said, wow, I am courageous. I ran a 100-miler in the dark. How many women at 60 that to do that and then win amongst all the women? So you've given me a lot of confidence and I'm sure you're inspiring a lot of people. So I would say no question, but just please continue to do so.
Thanks a lot. That's very nice to hear that I could actually inspire or encourage you to do something more. But yeah, all the very best for your future endeavors. And thanks a ton for taking out your time for this. It's been a memorable experience going through your journey, your childhood, your marriage, your corporate life, and of course, your phenomenal achievements in running. Thanks a lot, Taru.
Thank you, Hetal. Lovely talking.
Pleasure. Thank you. Bye-bye.